What is the most fucked up thing that happened in a children's TV show? I remember that episode of the Magic School Bus when that ginger dude took off his helmet in space after being told not to and his dome turned to ice or something like that. Spooked me as a kid. Oh yeah, the one where his sister or cousin or something made an appearance. Basically the plot is, Arnold's relative visits the school, and is skeptical about Mrs. Frizzle. They go to space, and the relative is collecting rocks to show to her class. She went to a different school. Once they go to all the planets, her rocks are so heavy that the bus can't go. The relative refuses to get rid of any rocks. Arnold gets fed up with it, and takes off his helmet to convince her to go home. The worst part? Mrs. Frizzle doesn't do a thing. Remember when SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs murdered and buried the health inspector? This was a great episode though. The dark deed you requested is done, sir. Like most of Courage the Cowardly Dog. Return the Slab. Invader Zim was fucked too. I had a love/hate relationship with that show as a kid. It freaked me out, but I still watched it. There's this Hey Arnold episode called The Ghost Bride, and the story is basically that this lady was madly in love with her fiancé but was stood up at the altar because he had fallen in love with her sister and married her the very next day. So the lady goes berserk and puts on her wedding dress, gets an axe from her basement, walks to the newlywed couple's home, kills them both in their beds, and when the cops come, she's rocking back and forth in a rocking chair next to the bodies, throwing rice on them and humming the wedding march. To finish it all off, she immediately jumps out of the window and kills herself. I'm starting to wonder if I ever watched Hey Arnold at all. I just looked it up, and that whole story was told among the group as a scary story. The way you described it, it sounds like it's the plot of the episode, which would be messed up. But told as a scary story, it's not so bad, although it might be an advanced theme for younger viewers. There was a very special anti-drug episode of the 80s cartoon Brave Star. In this episode, a couple of kids get hooked on a new drug. At the end of the episode, one of the kids died from an overdose. 30+ years later, and I'm not sure how many children's shows even today would kill a kid. Captain Planet did the same thing. A drug called Bliss that makes the user happy and all their problems go away, but also makes them reckless and not fear injury or death, and is extremely addictive. Linka's cousin gets addicted and then manages to get her hooked, but she quits after he dies of an overdose. Either the series finale of Alf, in which Alf is captured by the government presumably to be experimented on, or the series finale of Dinosaurs, in which the entire civilization is destroyed. I was about to post the Dinosaurs one. The finale was them just staring out the window at snow, and while I don't think they knew what was going to happen, we sure as fuck did. There is a movie about Alf after being captured. He makes it back to his kind and goes back to his home planet. Can't say the same about the dinosaurs though. That episode of Thomas the Tank Engine, when Thomas visits the scrap heap where all the dead/dying trains are. I remember watching it as a kid and not even thinking about how Thomas is basically surrounded by a bunch of corpses or people left to die. There's a whole song number in The Brave Little Toaster of cars in a scrapyard accepting imminent death and a few committing suicide. Not really as messed up as a lot of these, but still creepy. That episode of Tom and Jerry where Tom gets depressed and sits on a railroad track, waiting for a train to come. Then Jerry comes to join him sitting down. The episode cuts to black and ends, and it never mentions it after that. Strange. I got another one. T&J episode in which Tom dies and goes to heaven, but he is not allowed in cause he's been an asshole to Jerry. He is given a time limit for Jerry to forgive him or he will go to hell. While he is up in heaven, trying to get in, a dripping wet sack of something comes rolling in. It unties and out come a bunch of kittens, straight on through the pearly gates. I know I saw it as a kid and it didn't even register with me. As an adult, my jaw dropped because, holy shit, what the actual fuck, man? I remember watching that episode as a kid and thought that it was hilarious. Now, I realize how fucked up that was. Speaking from personal experience, it was when the Watergate hearings replaced my usual after-school helping of Batman. And it went on for months. Did you watch it thinking Batman was gonna come out and win them the case? Henry the Tank Engine was bricked up inside an abandoned tunnel for having anxiety while Ringo Starr mocked him. Not the worst fate in the railway series. One of the narrow gauge engines was turned into a stationary generator. It was more vanity than anxiety. Don't downplay Henry being a stubborn dick. He just got a shiny new paint job and didn't want to go out in the rain. As a child, I remember being fairly traumatized over a series called David the Gnome where he and his wife reach 400 and die together in the finale. They actually become cherry trees intertwined together in the next plane. I remember trying to explain to my mother why I was crying so hard watching the TV, but she didn't get it. I can't believe I scrolled so long to find this eyeballed as a child watching this. I vividly recall them waving goodbye to Swift the fox as they turn into trees. Edit: I found the clip and my childhood waterworks started at about 2 minutes. Looks like you/Muley was correct in the Swift finds a female fox to run off with, but that howl is haunting. Some dude in SpongeBob literally shoved a coin up a horse's ass. I can't find the coin slot, here it is. Comedy gold. Mystery: was a female horse, could have been a different hold. Movie rather than TV show, but if I think of, that's really dark for kids, my mind always jumps to Clayton's death at the end of Tarzan. Dude accidentally hanging himself with a vine is pretty dark. I mean, Clayton was also basically an allegory for slavery and genocide with his obsession with killing rare specimens and the way he caged up all Tarzan's family and put them on boats to be shipped back to England. So yeah, dark end to a dark story. Teeth, that guy was a dick and really deserved it. Killed by the jungle and his own arrogance. There was an episode of SpongeBob where Squidward got brain damage and thought he was a baby. Then the rest of the episode is just SpongeBob and Patrick throwing him about and shit. New SpongeBob is just plain sadistic at times. Who could forget when Mr. Krabs did a panty raid on his own mom? There's also the one where Squidward gets trapped in the freezer for 3,000 years. There was an episode where SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs murder the health inspector. The whole episode is them trying to hide and dispose of the body. Don't forget the episode where Squidward gets his toenail ripped off. Another episode, this was one of the older episodes, the one where Squidward loves Krabby Patties. He breaks into the Krusty Krab and gets set on fire. In later reruns they took that part out. New SpongeBob has weird-ass animation. The facial expressions are just scary and fuck, the colors are whack, etc. It's just fucking weird. Subscribe for more hot Reddit takes in your inbox, guaranteed.